Hey everyone, this is Dr. William Clark. Thank you for joining us for the Dr. William Clark podcast. And this is the podcast show where we focus on talking about simplifying fundraising strategies for nonprofits who are looking to triple their results and build six-figure businesses in nonprofit programs. Now, our guest today, this is our first guest of the new year, which is pretty cool. But we wanted to invite this guest on. He's not new to the show, but I think that his new project might be relevant to all of you who need some inspiration in your life. And quite frankly, while we are dedicating all year to fundraising strategies, grant writing, and stuff like that, it's important to make sure that you are focused on the things that can move the needle. And sometimes some of us need a boost or a kick in the butt. And I think this new project by our guest can help us with that. And I'm talking about no one other than Dr. Omar Simpson. Omar, what's going on, man?
Man, oh man, thank you for that intro. And yes, the first guest of 2020. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. First
Awesome.
guest of 2020, man. It's a big deal.
Yes, sir. And you know what? I'm sure we'll talk about it, but that fits perfectly there. This is that springboard, that catalyst, that push to do all the great things that, all the great information that you share with people. Hopefully, this will give a little inspiration to push them there to get to where they need to get to.
Without a doubt. So before we jump into the conversation, Omar, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, again, Omar Simpson, man. I am originally from Camden, New Jersey, good old Jersey. Just got back home out here, living the educator life, the academic life. I had fun writing a few books. We actually got to talk about one on this podcast for the love of education. And Will, I've got a great feedback on it. That's why I'm back here now. I got to talk to Will. I've been able to write some books, man, and do some great stuff. Most importantly, I get to serve. And that's, and I'm hopeful, people will hear that in the mixtape that that's what's important to me, being able to give back to help, add value, just be something and leave something that's bigger than myself to help others, man.
Awesome, man. So let's backtrack a little bit. You were talking about the last time you were here. You were talking about for the love of education. Tell us a little bit about that book and why that book is so important.
Oh man, yeah, for the love of education, a power and awakened mind. That book took a look into my journey coming from poverty, going all the way through to PhD, and kind of what made a difference for me. And I know we had talked about it. So many people giggled with me when we talked about, I said the difference when I really looked at it for me was encyclopedias. Being able to read encyclopedias, and so many people are like, the heck is that? I'm like, okay, it's Google before there was Google. Google and book. Just kind of outlining that journey, what that looks like to go from, your typical urban city, your poverty-stricken areas, growing up in a single-parent household, and education being the catalyst to, transform my situation. Kind of outlining that, talking about the love of learning, how one can develop a love for learning for teachers and educators and parents, how they can help their child or their children develop a love of learning. Kind of putting all that into the book was, a joy to do. And that's something that, I've still been pushing and still been talking about. And a lot of my speeches still surround this idea of loving education and doing the best that we can. And you and I were talking about this offline, just doing the best that we can to instill that love of learning, not necessarily get a degree. Of course, that's important. Not necessarily go to college. That's important, but not pushing that. Helping, just develop mindsets and dispositions to where young people, students, or whoever can have this idea of just wanting to be educated themselves, wanting to self-educate, wanting to have this, internal drive to be educated, whether that is in a formal setting or not, but you just have this love of learning, consuming, whatever you can, and then on that back end, and we know as, entrepreneurs, then create and becoming creators of information, creator of thoughts and knowledge, and just pushing and disrupting, some of the fields and areas that we're in now. So without rambling, man, just long story short, that's that's the quick piece on For the Love of Education.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I think about The love of education and my own journey of loving education. I think that love really began for me when I started to learn at my own pace, and there was relevance to what I was learning. Um, I can think back to a critical moment in my life. I was an adult at this time when my first business crashed and burned. It was during a financial crisis, and everything was dead. And a friend of mine shared with me a podcast that really just transformed everything for me. And at that time, that particular podcast had about 100 episodes, and they've been running for quite a while. And I just consumed every one of them. They were 45 to 60 minutes long a piece, and the number of hours I spent listening to that podcast, educating myself about my real estate business that died and how it can be revived, even in a down economy that was still questionable back in 2011, really was one of those memorable education moments that I knew to love it. It has to be done at my own pace and relevant. And for me, my pace is a bit fast, right? It's I like to consume a lot of information quickly to see the importance and relevance of it now. I'm not a guy that buys, growing up, you get a pair of shoes and you keep them in the box for a couple months for that perfect moment to use it. I'm not that guy. I'm that guy that buys a pair of shoes. I buy it to wear it, no matter how much I pay for it. Whether it's $50 or $250. Like I buy it to wear it. I buy a new car to drive it. I buy a new shirt to wear it. I buy this to use it. And so I view education the same way. I don't want to be held up by a testing schedule, a syllabus schedule. And quite frankly, when I got my doctorate, it was the same thing where I figured out the formula. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I mean, there were other formulas that people share with me. But as I'm talking to you, I think the formula was figuring out pace and relevance. That made it go by so much faster. I loved my doctoral experience. I know everybody cannot say that. But for me, that has continued to drive me, man. And it continues to influence my love for education.
Yes, I love that, man. I love that. And that is that also. I'm guessing that leads into that entrepreneurial spirit because it not even necessarily being an entrepreneur, but literally just that spirit of being able to create what you need to create or go at that pace that you need to go at. Because even I'm thinking of now, spending some time in high schools, even in the professor world, it can be difficult to get everybody their own pace because you've got 20, you got 30 students. And I mean, goodness, you're lucky if you get 5 to 7 or so that are at the same pace or at the same academic level. But that's difficult, and that's where that self education, that's where that
Yeah.
entrepreneurial spirit to be able to just go get it yourself and be able to just learn, man. And I love that. And then the relevancy that I'll say that the turning point, or one of the major turning points in my educational journey was finding something that was relevant. When it came to reading, I'm somebody I hated reading, man. Just this stuff here, man, this wasn't me 10, 15 years ago. You would have seen none of these. All you would have seen is, me reading an encyclopedia just because I had nothing else to do. But I could not read like a book in school or anything like that. Like I was a great reader, but you wouldn't find me on my own reading a book. It wasn't until I found a book, And Still We Rise by Miles Corn, which I always remember, the first book I read that was relevant to me. I saw myself in it. This guy was following kids over in LA that were in a gifted and talented program. I'm like, all right. But they came from like all kinds of crazy circumstances. You had people that were in gangs or getting shot and, pregnant, so on and so forth. Just any type of circumstance that you can think of in an urban setting, these kids were dealing with it. But they were in gifted and talented programs and they were excelling and exceeding in education. And I'm
Hmm.
like, yo, that's me. That's me. I want to learn about more about people like me. It's relevant to me. Like I get it. Whereas everything else was just like, I don't like this doesn't sound like me. Like these areas don't sound like the area I grew up in. I don't know what they're talking about. And I just wouldn't read it until I found something that was relevant. And I whipped right through that book, man. Before that, I couldn't find a book that I would just read all the way through. because it wasn't relevant to me. It didn't make sense. So I'm with you there, man. Pace, that's just it's difficult, but when you can find that, I mean, you can fly. The relevancy, yeah, that makes it different.
Yeah, and this podcast is designed for people who want to go at a fast, slow pace. Whether you want the long form podcast, which we do, 30 plus minutes, you want the quick bites, which we do. It's up to you. And our online grant writing 101 masterclass, which people can access at mysixfigurefunding.com. Um, is designed for that, an aggressive level of learning if that's what you desire, or you can take your time at your own pace and it's available to you. But I want to devote some time talking about your new project here. What is this new project you're calling? What is it called?
Success is a lifestyle. The motivational mixtape.
The successful. Say it one more time.
Success is a lifestyle. Motivational mixtape.
Success is a lifestyle motivational mixtape. The interesting thing about it, when I heard the mixtape, it had a Damon John feel to it. He released a motivational mixtape or album last year.
I gotta check that out.
Oh, you don't know about it? Yeah, you gotta check it out, man. It's very similar. It's not as faith based or faith centered as yours, but it had that feel to it, and it was interesting, kind of hearing this project unfold from track to track, because there's a piece of it that feels like it's a morning meditation project. There's a piece that feels like this is a dedicated prayer that an entrepreneur, a creator can now articulate that's relevant to faith and scripture. Then there's also, it feels like a project that's a kick in the butt. So how would you describe this project to people who are like a success mistake? Like, how would you describe it to people?
And all those things that you mentioned, that's a great way to explain it. I'm going to take that clip and use that. I'm telling you that. But success in lifestyle, the motivational mixtape, it is essentially people work to offer people, like you mentioned, just that kick in the butt, or that information, or just something to get you going on a daily basis. Or if you're like in the middle of the road, or if you're vacillating or figuring things out, you can throw on any of these tracks and it's going to get you there. It's going to give you what you need. Or if you're in a place of, I'm just relaxing, just joyful, there's things on there for that just help your mood. And for me, even one of the reasons of doing it is understanding the importance of music and the value of music and what that does for people. That music really sets people's mood, or even in some regards, what people gravitate to when they're going through things. So I'm like, well, instead of me, coming up, give a 30-minute speech, that may not fit for everybody. Going back to what you're saying about pace and relevance, that may not be everybody's feel. So how about, let's do this some short 3 to 5 minute clips, give you hard pieces that give you some information, or give you some inspiration, some motivation, or, something that just feels good. There's a couple of tracks on there where it just feels good. Giving that to people in a way that they can consume it, digest it, and throw it on. And you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to listen, to the whole 30-minute talk or 30-minute tape or whatever it is. You can throw on, get you 3 minutes, or throw on a prayer for 5 minutes, or if you want some spoken word on the success of the lifestyle for about 2-3 minutes, and get what you need. And that's that. I mean, what you shared, kind of, at the beginning, it's all wrapped in there as far as with this tape.
Yeah, man, I think that is important. And for me, with us focusing our energy on fundraising, grant writing, for nonprofits in our podcasting, we I think that wrapped up in all of that is the necessity of understanding that successfully fundraising is you can call it a lifestyle. It's a profession. It is a constant. It is consistent. It's persistent. It is who you are. And I found over my years that people who are scared of fundraising, like I was at one point, are really scared of normalizing better behavior. They're scared of what appears to be a difficult thing to implement or wrestle with. And when I discovered that success can be had in fundraising for my projects, the nonprofits that I have been a part of, then it became very normal for me to build six-figure programs, to triple results without chasing funders, and all those things that I'm teaching now. When you look at this project and you look at the track list you put together, who would you say this project is for? Who are you trying to reach with this project?
Man, and and yeah, I know the terrible answer, yet the greatest answer is everybody. But even thinking about like what you were sharing, I'm thinking just this overall arching idea of success as a lifestyle, which is something that I've been sharing, forever now. It's just this idea of the daily habits that it takes to
Mm,
be successful. It's a daily grind. It takes those direct actions on an everyday basis to be successful. So even with funding, finding funding, or just building or being a successful nonprofit, that's everyday work, man. And I'm sure you share this all the time. You can't. It's not a one-off. It's not oh, I got this six-figure funding tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. It's dedicated work on a daily basis. And even I can't remember which one. You put out one piece that I grabbed. Remind me the I'm forgetting the name, brother. Give me the name. It was one piece you put out. It was um, I had everybody in my circle listen to it. Give me the name, brother. I'm blanking.
of what is a project, podcast, or book, or
It was the project you did on securing funding for nonprofits. What was the name of it? It's gonna come to me. If you,
okay, okay,
um, but just like thinking like that, I'm guessing you put something like that because if it was a quick fix, if it was just something you could say, hey, here you go get your funding, get out of here, then you would do that. But that's not the case. You put together a full project, you talk about this, you do this work because you know there are steps that it takes, there are strategies that you have to put in place
sure,
on a daily basis. Like it's a lifestyle, even for you. This is your lifestyle. You're living this. You're talking about this every day. You're consuming information on this every day, and that's my message. That whatever it is that you want to be successful in, whatever your lane is, whatever the thing is in life that you are here to do or to be or to add value in, it has to be an everyday process. It has to be a lifestyle, dedicated actions on a daily basis. We all get tired. We may take a day off, or here or there, or get some rest, which is important. But those actions have to be dedicated every single day, and that's the overarching message: is just living a successful lifestyle. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you're doing it every day. I remember I had a mentee, man, that wanted to be an artist. Uh, he wanted to be a rapper, and I'm like, all right, bet, I'm behind you 100%. What are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing little sessions with my friends. I'm like, okay, what are y'all doing? He's like, we're rapping, we're doing, the little, vibe together and all like that. I'm like, well, when are y'all doing it? Oh, we doing on Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays and Thursdays, okay. Well, what about the other 5 days? Well, I've been busy. I got this and that going on. How are you going to be successful at being a rap? You're doing it 2 days a week. That's no, and I'm sure you have stories. Even with being a speaker, I've had plenty of people, man, ask me, well, how do you do this? How do you book gigs? I'm like, forget all that. Make sure that you're tight. Make sure that every day you're speaking. It's like, well, how am I speaking every day? I'm not booking stuff every day. I'm just starting. No, you need to be speaking every single day. I was like, you make sure, I was like, me, I make sure I'm at least reading at least 30 minutes a day and I'm speaking 30 minutes a day, bare minimum. I'm hoping, most days I can get up to an hour, hour and a half, but at the very minimum, 30 minutes. And that's not just, cannons to the left of them, but no, actually, here's how, here's 30 minutes of a speech that I would deliver, here's some material that I would deliver, and then consuming new information, reading, listening to podcasts, listening to, excellent people like Will and others to keep new information and coming into my mind to where now that I can take that and put it into how it makes sense for me, going back to relevance, how it makes sense for me and relevant to my life, and then create something and give a 30-minute speech. It has to be every single day. Because somebody could call us right now and say, hey, Will, can you come tomorrow and do this talk? You gonna say no? No, but if you're not prepared, I mean, you go up there and ruin your career or bomb it. But if you're doing it every single day, you're ready. You can ask me, hey, Omar, can you talk about it? Yes, let's go. I done gave 30 minutes this morning. I did 30 minutes yesterday. I got a bunch of material in my mind that's prepared and ready to go. I can hit it just like that. It has to be a lifestyle, man. Success is a lifestyle.
Man, there's so much I can say about that. The tools of the trade, tips of the trade, and I learned this early from my mom, and then I personalized it. She's a I'm going to say, in my opinion, but I think it's a fact, a world class singer. She could have professionally done opera, and a world class pianist, right?
Wow.
And she did a concert one time, and I was, in my teens. I'm like, yo, you're not going to practice? Like, what you doing? She said, no. She said, I practice every day. I'm like, when? She said, you don't hear me down in the basement? Oh, yeah, I guess so. She said, I play for church 3 times a week. Well, 4 times a week. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. And she said, dude, that's practice. And I'm like, whatever. In my teenage years, man, as I've gotten older, as you said, man, every moment that I'm working on my craft is practice.
Yeah.
It is the time I'm putting in, as you're talking about, making whatever it is a part of my lifestyle. As a pastor, preacher, facilitator, speaker, consultant, coach, which quite frankly kind of fits into all the same bucket, professor. I'm constantly teaching, whether it's in the church or whether in the classroom or whether online, whether through the podcast, coaching my staff. Like, it's a nonstop thing, man. So you come holler at me. I mean, I don't need to study much to kind of give you something to get you going, or for me to read what you need, man. It's a definite daily practice.
Yep. If anybody was to come to you today and say, hey, Will, can you come here? What time, whatever time it is right now, can you come here later today
Yep.
and do a talk on helping us find funding for a nonprofit? You
Yep.
could show up and blow that thing away, give them so much value and information, strategies, tools, and tips because it is a part of your lifestyle. You're doing it every day. You're talking
Yep.
about it every day. Like you're an expert in that area. So it's easy for you, not for everybody else, but it's easy for you to be able to step out there and do that because it's a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's the message. That's what the overarching message. That's what the tape is about. That's why it's titled "Success is a Lifestyle," because I'm pushing people and trying to motivate and encourage people to live a lifestyle of success. And these are the things, like the first track, "You're awesome." Kind of giving yourself affirmations, daily affirmations, not once in a while, but make sure you're affirming in your mind who you are and whose you are on a daily basis. The morning prayer, just information, connecting with God on a daily basis, not on Sunday, but on a daily basis. You're making that connection through prayer, through thought, through reading, so on and so forth. But it has to be like who you are every single day, not once in a while, not every now and again. Successful people are, people who, and I don't mean success just as in money. I know some people take that over there. I'm talking about successful in your family, successful in your friendships, successful in being a member of your church or whatever it is, being successful in those things. It takes everyday action, just making that a part of your lifestyle, man. So that's what the tape is about, just pushing and encouraging and inspiring people and giving them some of the tools to kind of make it a little bit easier for a daily basis. You don't have to come up with affirmations, just go on track one and go along with me. Or, put on a prayer in the morning or at night, whenever it makes sense for you, and listen to that and let that vibe in your spirit and take that where you need to take it and do what you need to do. That's what I'm trying to push out.
Yeah, I know for me, my music choices are very slim. It's relegated to primarily instrumentals, right? I can't, it's difficult for me to hear people's word choices on music, so I'm relegated to instrumentals and nature sounds, man. Kind of that mindfulness approach, right?
Yep.
But the other things that I am listening to is content heavy. So a lot of YouTubing, right? But then a whole lot of Audible. Like my Audible library is getting a little hefty, right? Because I'm constantly playing, audio books. That's how I get a lot of reading done. If I need to read something very specific, I go through the Audible function because just like you and others who become doctors, we've become really good at speed reading.
Yes.
So if I really want to go deeper, I'll probably do Audible just because it allows me to process much faster than my eyes can move. Um, your mixtape seeks to, the way I'm looking at this, it seeks to be that Audible, or that, again, that Audible um, um, resource for people. How would you look at your track list and encourage people to listen to the project? Is you want them to go in order? Would you recommend a particular track that you prefer, or is there a track that you love so much that you want people to start at? How would you encourage people to listen to your project?
Great question. I want to go to what you said real fast. That is so That is so true. Like you were sharing about listening to instrumentals, audible books, and things of that nature. I find that many people, and I ain't going to give out our age or where we're at in the generational timeline, but many people, in our area of life, I'll just say that, they got a little wisdom. Me, I got a couple gray hairs. You still got those golden rose and hair still dark. I'm a little past that. But those of us, with a little wisdom, it can be difficult to find music to enjoy and listen to. And it sucks for me that oftentimes when I see people, either in art or in similar walks of life, faith based or, just a little grown, just being grown in life, they go back to old music. I'm throwing on the old 90s hits or the old, early 2000s hits. When I want to really hear some music, that's what I'm listening to. And I'm like, man, that sucks. Like, why can't there be something that you can throw on now that's relevant? The message is positive, uplifting. It connects with you, as well as something, still has a little, beat to it, a little rhythm to it. Something that you can still, turn up in the car and, get your bop on or something. Why can't we have something like that? So that was also a part of me putting this together, man. Because you don't have to keep going back to the old school stuff that we used to, listen to hear something that, for us, has some of the language that, that works in our spirit and some of
Hmm.
the vibes and things that we can get down with. But, so that was a big part of even putting this together. Is for people like me and you, because I'm with you there. It's like, I'm just throwing this instrumental because I'm not messing around with all like that. And that's something, even, and not to be long winded here, but even something I used to, as a kid, man, it used to get me a lot. I would try to just listening to certain stuff, even if you're not living that life, when it seeps into your spirit and your subconscious mind, man, like I even noticed even my vernacular and certain words that I would start to use. Man, where did that come from? That came from the stuff that I was listening to, thinking that I wasn't getting nothing out. I was just listening to it and vibing, but no, it's coming out. I wanted to that could offer people like you and I, and our generation and our walks of life, something that they can listen to now that's relevant. But to answer your question about the order, I think the way it's put together, I love how it flows. But that's me. But for me, with anything, any information, anything that I put out, it's about the person, whatever they find use in and find useful. Um, what's the word is the message is not for the person delivering, but for the person that's receiving it. So it's for me. I here you go. Here's success is a lifestyle. However, it works for the listener. Win the day may be something somebody needs. Man, I'll tell you, win the day. The real quick story. Win the day is the one song my nieces and nephews are bumping. Win the day. So even that, helped me make that connection with them to push this positivity and inspiration and encouragement. But that got a little beat behind it. That's a little newer, a little new age beat behind it to give them something like, oh, okay. And now they're walking around talking about some win the day, win the day. And I'm like, that's it. I won now. I won the day now. Because now I got them out here talking about win the day. So that means a lot to me, man. So the short answer to your question, the order is whatever people find useful, whatever makes sense for them, whatever they can get something out of. Listen to that in the order that you need to.
Yeah, I agree with that. I played it straight through, which made more sense for me. And I think that the other thought that came to my mind when I listened to your project straight through was the importance. This does, for those of you wondering, it does have a faith-based perspective to it, and which I think is pretty useful for believers and non-believers. Man, just the content has a lot of relevance to it. But I think what drew me into Omar was the fact that no matter where you come from and what side of the tracks you're coming in at, you need to be reminded of the fact that you do have the option and the freedom to win. And you need to be reminded that success is not limited to people who seem to steal or who seem to get over on people. And if you're not reminded, to the point you're making about the music you allow in your spirit, if you're not reminded of the fact that you can raise six figures, you can triple your fundraising results, you can win the next grant, you can outperform the competition, you can serve your community with integrity, and still be innovative and still run a nonprofit all at the same time. If you're not reminded of that, then you run the risk of wondering and questioning, well, what can I do? And you start to look at other options, which is when we find ourselves in a nonprofit community or any community where you have people who are thinking that they're limited in what they're capable of doing in this space, when in reality you're not limited. There's so much you can do if you are reminded of the potential that you possess and the potential that exists around you in the context you're working in.
You're preaching now, man. You're preaching. You're preaching. That how man, how much more success could you achieve if somebody told you every single day,
Yep.
you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Like it started a nonprofit. What if somebody told you every single day that nonprofit is going to be successful, that nonprofit is going to be successful, that nonprofit is going to be successful? Just telling you that every day, just feeding that into you, that one, that your potential is real, and then two, that you will realize that potential. Every single day you heard that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then, in your space, being able to say that every day and then back it up with here's how. But that, man, so it's not, sometimes I think people, when they hear words like that or the affirmation, I don't know if they fully understand how powerful that is to call that into your life. But then when you have, the more you do that, I think then you begin to attract the people around you that can help with the how. So, oh my goodness, man, I'm just.
It's true. And I think the other part to this is, if you're not putting affirming positive messages into your spirit or your mind, then there's only one other type of message that's being allowed in, and that's the message of doubt, the message of fear, the message of insecurity, the message of brokenness, the message of I can't, I won't, I don't have experience, I don't know anybody that has tried. I find myself coaching my team quite a bit on the possibilities of what can happen. Part of it is because I've been there, done that, and I know the blueprint to get you there. But a lot of the conversation is about building up positive affirmations that you are enough, that you're capable of doing this. You have to just tweak your perspective a bit. And I think there is room in the nonprofit space, which is the community I speak to through this podcast, for us to do better, because hypocritically, we tell our clients, if we're in the human services, that you can change your life, that you can experience something different. You can stop the violence. You can finish school. You can get your education. You can reunify with your family. But when it comes to our careers, we don't follow the advice we give our clients, because we don't see the potential that lies within for us to advance in our careers, to build, stronger, well-performing nonprofits, raise more money, attract more funders, generate larger sums of revenue. But it's easier for us to tell our clients that. I mean, what do you say to the person who's quick to give the encouragement of our affirmation and hope and faith, yet struggles to live it out in their own lives?
That's that's where it gets real. That's where it gets real. And that, just again, just going back to the lifestyle, it has to be a part of your lifestyle. And I've been in that boat before, giving, certain advice, or sharing certain things with people in my mind, knowing I ain't doing that. I've been there. I know what that feels like. Oh, you should probably do this. Like, man, nah, but my life ain't set up like that. That ain't for me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And those affirmations, see, I think and not to speak for myself, there are certain things in life that it took me time to really believe about myself. But it was easy. It's easy for me to look at Will and say, Will, you are a phenomenal speaker. Like, you're a phenomenal speaker. You're a phenomenal speaker. It's easy for me to look at you and just affirm that. Just affirm that. I see that. But then, because I'm in my head, right, and I'm thinking about me, and I'm like, I'm all right. I'm okay. So I can tell you, because I said, but for whatever reason, I don't see it in myself. Now, even if, one thing that I learned, even if I may not see it in myself in that moment, calling that into my life can help begin to bring it out. So man, we can go really deep here on this, man. But it's definitely a huge point, to be able to say something to somebody else, because many of us are good at that. We can tell somebody else this and that, but it can be so, like, oh man, it can be such a struggle to say it to ourselves, one, and then believe it, two. I'm hopeful that we can at least begin to at least start to say it. Just start saying those things, affirming who you are, affirming those great things about your life, affirming those great things about your character, personality, whatever it is. And then, if it takes you time to believe, that's cool. But start somewhere. Start somewhere, and then allow it to seep in, and begin to believe it. That yes, you're great. You were made great. You were made awesome. If you have any faith, hello, you were made by somebody perfect. Like, you're good. Just believe it. In life, I think life is so interesting. It has so many, ups and downs of the circumstance and adversity. I feel like when people go through certain struggles or problems, it can kind of just throw everything out of whack. And it's like, that was a moment. That's not who you are. That was a moment. Even in the education world, just real quick, I have so many students who want to be medical doctors, and they'll get into that intro to chem, or they'll get into that biochem class, and it doesn't go so great. And then they're like, hey, I want to change my major. I'm going to change my whole life because of that one thing. I'm no longer good at science. I'm no longer good at helping people. I'm no longer good. I don't want to do this because I'm no longer good. It's like, how are you no longer good at this? because of one class with so many variables. It could be the teaching style, could be the material, could be the environment. It could be, hey, you got other stuff going on right now and you weren't able to consume the information a certain way. That doesn't change who you are. Still affirm, yes, you are a great student. Yes, you are intellectual. Yes, you do belong here. Yes, you are great. That one moment doesn't change that. But not again, we could go forever on this one topic alone, man. And I think that hits so much for people because I mean, just that life can be tough. That's realistic. Life can be tough. That doesn't change though how great you are. No moment can change the value that you bring, the intellectual that you are, how great you are, the things that you can do, the potential that you have. None of that changes because of a moment, or none of that changes because of a little adversity or circumstance. So just continue to affirm those things.
Success is a Lifestyle, a motivational mixtape by Dr. Omar Simpson. Omar, when does this project come out? When is it available?
It will be out Monday, January 20th, which is the National MLK Day of Service. Not his birthday, but the day of service. So my way of serving is offering people something, a project that they can take and for me, be that boost in 2020 and beyond to be inspired, to be motivated, to kind of understand, just live this lifestyle of success every single day, man. So January 20th, Monday, 2020, it will be dropping.
And where can people get their copy?
OmarSimpson.com. It will be right on the website.
Perfect. Dr. Simpson, thank you for joining us. And for those of you listening to the podcast, thank you for listening to the Dr. William Clark podcast. This is the show where we continue to talk about fundraising strategies. Join us at mysixfigurefunding.com. Omar, it's been great to have you on the show, bro. Thank you.
Man, my brother, thank you. Thank you so much, brother.